Hi, you're all very welcome to the 2027 information presentation for the Club Development Officer positions, or the CDO, as some of you may know it as. My name is Kyle Craig. I'm Provincial Coaching and Games Manager and oversee this project. So I suppose some of the background towards where the project came from. We would have started off with a pilot in 2022 with 2 positions across 4 clubs. One of the positions would have been in a large urban area with 1 large club, and then there was 1 position across 3 rural clubs in East Galway. Then from 2023 to 2025, we've gone from 72 clubs and 43 positions to 93 clubs and 52 positions, and that has pretty much leveled off over the last 2 years. So where we came from with the project initially was that we had 28 full-time GDCs across 5 counties managed by 5 county head of games. Each GDC, as they still do, cover a region, and they have to deliver county-based projects. And I suppose back in 2022 and before, a large focus of that was on schools coaching, but we felt we weren't making the best use of our full-time staff's expertise by having them performing lots of schools coaching. At the time also, I suppose, because there was full-time staff with single clubs in certain parts of the country, some clubs were looking for that in the west of Ireland as well. We felt there was scope maybe for full-time positions of some sort for maybe 6 months of the year, but very hard to justify for 12 months of the year, particularly in a lot of the rural areas that are in Connacht. So we developed the CDO model, and really the CDO model was to empower clubs to drive recruitment and participation. And I suppose where we're currently at is we've just done a review of the 2026 project, and the changes, which we'll explain in the next number of slides, have been ratified by the Connacht GAA Coaching and Games Committee over the past 2 weeks. So what will the CDO do in a club? It'll establish / strengthen the club-school link, coach in the primary schools, so to recruit players to the club, oversee an excellent club nursery, which is from under 6 down, and a lot of clubs have them in place at the moment. Also to oversee an excellent club Go Games program, which again is quite well embedded in all clubs. They can help with organising and running of club Easter camps, and many clubs use these as fundraisers to pay for the CDO, the fees, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. The Cool Camps is not part of the CDO project, and that's because the 19 weeks is finished before the Cool Camps start. I suppose we have it in red there because we have mentioned it before and stipulated it in these presentations, but some clubs, when it comes to the time, then think that it is or should be part of the Cool Camp program, but it's not. Provide extra games opportunities for youth players, such as youth super games and athletic development programs for youth players. So these are all the projects that a CDO can undertake in your club. And then the promotion of all these activities through social media platforms, I suppose, to promote your club in the local area. So we would have made changes from the 2025 program into 2026, which we're after finishing and reviewing, and I'll go through each of the feedback there on that. But we would have wanted more athletic development in the clubs, but again, there has been a low uptake on that. And as I'll mention in the next couple of slides, we want to do an analysis there in the county to see how we can get more of that done within the clubs, because there's huge benefit to be got there. And there's also hours that clubs aren't using that it can be used to implement. Improve the PR of the project. So this has improved considerably. We moved to some of the county coaching and games staff and pages, coordinating this with the CDO, sending that information straight in to the staff member, and then them tagging the clubs in it, which has considerably increased the exposure of the project. We incorporated a schools blitz program, I suppose coordinated going across the 5 counties. Prior to that, it would have been happening in different formats in the county, but we left 1 month free for every CDO to run a blitz. And what we had was 54 blitzes held with 5,714 children. And we had a lot of very good feedback from the teachers on this. To continue with the 19 weeks, so again, that's dictated by the calendar and the holidays, which we'll explain in a while. The equipment, so again, for the year gone by was the first year that we coordinated the equipment centrally, and there was very good feedback from the CDOs and the clubs on this. So for the 2026 program, we reviewed the clubs, the CDOs, and the schools. We're going to go into a good bit of detail on the club review here, because it's obviously more specific to people listening to this call. The CDOs and the schools review was very, very positive. So this is an infographic of what we got back from the clubs. So we had 63 of the 93 clubs responded, which was up from last year, which is very encouraging as well. 86% of the clubs said the program they got value for money. 94% said that they will take part in the program in 2027, and 73% rated the CDO's performance as excellent. So again, as key figures, that's very, very positive. I suppose the biggest benefits there was the club school link, recruitment and participation, quality schools coaching, support for the club, and individual CDO contribution. And when clubs are asked what did they not like or what would they like to see to make it stronger, 40 clubs came back saying that they were very positive overall and were very happy with the way it currently was happening. 6 clubs commented on non-school hours, how they were challenged as to how to fill their own hours. 8 would have commented that they want more time. And then there was some small number of comments around logistics, travel, sharing CDOs, and so on. The allocation of hours. So again, this is one that it's never going to be an exact science, but we try and get it as good as we can every year. So 63% felt that their hours of allocation was right. 13 had too many, and 24 needed more. So we'll review that individually with clubs when we're making the allocations next year. In terms of value for money, as we've mentioned, 86 felt they would have got value for money, and 94% will take part again next year. And 73% felt that the CDO program, the performance of the CDO that they got was excellent, and 19 felt it was good. So a very high percentage were very happy with the performance of the CDOs. So I suppose the key takeaway here is that it's landed very well with clubs, and the key strengths are club school links, participation, and the coaching support that clubs get, with some improvement maybe around helping clubs to fill their time in non-school activities. So I suppose the changes from the review that we would have brought forward to the Connacht Coaching and Games Committee for 2027 would be that any additional or unused hours by the club are to be allocated to the county or to the province. So this would be where we say maybe a club has 18 hours and they're using 14 of them. Is that then 4 hours can be then used by the county or the province on coaching and games projects. We incorporate the school blitz program into the project again, so continue to develop this based on the feedback. This was very, very positive, so we want to continue and improve that again next year. As I've mentioned, the athletic development, it's one part through the review and through the data where clubs are not availing of this. and we're not just sure why. So we're going to ask the counties to investigate that with their individual clubs, and we'll come back with a plan for that by the time the project gets underway. Again, it's going to be 19 weeks. This is dictated by the Easter dates and school holidays. So it's going to start on February 15th with the training week, and it'll finish on the week of June 26th. So I suppose more specifics of the project is that, as I said there, it's a 19-week period from the 15th of February to June 26th. It's 36 hours per week for a full post. The CDOs are employed by Connacht GAA. They're managed by the county head of games in conjunction with the regional GDCs, who again each have a region of clubs to oversee. The CDOs will be largely filled by by students from third level sports science and coaching related courses. And as I would have said previously, there are 19 of them courses around the country. The rest of the places will be filled by people proposed by the clubs. So again, these people don't necessarily have to have, sports science and coaching qualifications, but they do have to have, I suppose, previous coaching experience, interest in coaching. They would have to have some form of coaching qualifications, I suppose, to show that they have coached in the past. But we can get them upskilled in terms of vetting, safeguarding, and additional coaching if required. So I suppose the reporting structure, all CDOs or employees are staff of Connacht GAA for the 19 weeks. The county head of games will manage them day to day in the counties. The club steering committee, which is made up of the coaching officer, the chairperson and the secretary, is put in place to help set out the work programme. I'll talk about that in a couple of slides' time in terms of the club's responsibility. The club steering committee will meet with the county regional GDC 3 times per year in December to set the work programme, in April if they wish for a mid-year review, and in July then to review it. The work schedule is agreed by the county regional GDC and each participating steering group. The work schedule is then given to the CDO by the regional GDC. So that's their manager, I suppose. What we don't want happening is that the CDO has multiple people come and tell them different things. There'll be bi-monthly meetings with the province. So they'll happen in February with the training week, April and June, and that will include some training. And then there'll be monthly face-to-face meetings with the county staff and head of games. So the costs, as we currently are, there are some proposed changes to the minimum wage. All wages are done based on minimum wage. So this will increase if the minimum wage does increase, but as we currently are, we have the same prices as last year. So the overall wage there plus PRSI is 10,540 for the 19 weeks. So the cost for a single club, a club pays 70%, so that will be 7,378. There'll be only a small number of clubs who will have a full CDO. So where it's been shared between 2 clubs, that's 3,689, or 3 clubs is 2,459. Each county contributes 20% to the overall cost. Connacht contributes 10% to the overall cost of each position across the province. And Connacht GAA will be the employer and carry all employer liability. Connacht GAA and the counties will manage all recruitment of CDOs. So the next couple of slides are very important in terms of us all understanding who's responsible for what. So we go through the club responsibilities, the county responsibilities, and the province's responsibility. So the first thing the club must do is the coaching officer must set up a club steering committee, which is your coaching officer, your chairperson, and your secretary. The steering committee to attend the educational evening for the clubs, which have been very beneficial the last couple of years. They can be a small bit repetitive, but they have been very beneficial in terms of us getting the project planned out planned early, and when the project is planned early, the club get a lot more out of it in the long run. The club has to prepare for the CDO to be in the club for the 19 weeks, so they need to contact the schools, agree the timetables, decide if they're doing the athletic development, either with the nursery, either with the GAA games, and so on. And the earlier we have that done, as I said previously, the club gets more out of it. The club must promote all codes associated with their club. So if it's a dual club, both codes must be supported. If not, it will be terminated. Thankfully, we've never actually had to terminate a position. In 2 occasions, we've had to go probably pretty close to it, but the position can't be used to strengthen one code over the other. It must support all codes. The club have a club plan and document adequately completed. Pay 70%. So the first instalment will be on October 1st, and the second instalment will be on April 1st in 2027. The most followed policy for coaching and games program, and again, thankfully, we've had no issues with that over the years, and promote the work within the club through social media. So the gear and equipment that the club must provide as 2 sets of club gear to the employee, a tracksuit and a t-shirt. And again, this is to promote the club within the local schools. Provide equipment needed to carry out the program based on the playing numbers. And as in 2026, basic equipment will be provided by the province, and the cost included with the second invoice. So now the county's responsibility is to have the initiative as part of the county business plan, which all the counties have done and have committed to again. The day-to-day management of the CDOs, ensure proper upkeep of the timetable, and meet the CDOs face-to-face on a monthly basis. They pay 20%. They engage in the educational nights for the clubs, which they do, and provide county gear if a school is made up of students from a large number of clubs, so that there's no conflict there. And from a provincial point of view, our responsibility is we're the employer. We pay 10% each position. We organise education evenings prior to the project starting. We have bi-monthly meetings with ongoing training. We recruit all the CDOs in the clubs, so substantial work in that piece alone. And then we provide the training week and any other additional training requirements, such as coaching, vetting, and safeguarding. And then we procure the provided coaching equipment, which was done in 2026 and was very well received. And then we do the weekly payroll. So this is, I suppose, the next couple of slides are an example of a 1 club, 2 club, and 3 club model. We have a color coded there, so you'll see we try and give them 2 days in a row off we can. So Sunday will be off, and potentially Monday. Some of this is dictated by the projects that clubs will run, but this is just to give an example. So this is a club that runs their GAA games on a Saturday morning. It would be a large club, obviously, if it's taking a 1 club model. So they're working on Saturdays there at the GAA games. Then they're doing schools coaching from Tuesday through to Friday, and they have club nursery on a Wednesday. We allocate 2 hours there on a Thursday for planning and administration, and then another coaching. So that might be athletic development, it might be super games, whatever the case may be. And then over the Easter weeks, the club can run a camp. So you can see here with a 2 club model here, where everything's basically split in 2. You have 2 days schools coaching, 1 evening nursery. GAA games is split on the Saturday, and then obviously the planning and admin is split between the 2 clubs. And then a 3 club model. Again, very simplified, saying that each club is doing schools coaching, GAA games, and nursery there. So I suppose the benefits to a club is that increased club membership, increased revenue through membership, increased revenue through extra camps like the Easter camp. Many clubs do that. Decreased workload on volunteers, increased participation levels of children from each of the age cohorts. Establish and strengthen the club school link. increased exposure of the club through social media postings, and decrease injuries through appropriate athletic development programs at youth level. So the timeline of where we currently are at, we're at the end of June, we concluded the 2026 project. In July, we reviewed the project and implemented the findings that we showed a couple of slides ago through the Connacht Coaching Games Committee. So this video is being sent out with expressions of interest on the 5th of August. By the 28th of August, clubs must have submitted their expression of interest form, must have their first payment in by the 1st of October. We'll start doing the interviews by the 3rd of October, and then at the end of October, any club that have nominated a person to be interviewed, we will then start to interview. I suppose we have to get the payments in early because we can't offer a student a placement unless clubs have put down money and have committed to taking part. The project is, I suppose, the CDOs and their placements are obviously very important, and we can't have a case where a student is left without work placement. So then in 2027, it starts on the 15th of February. The second payment from the club needs to be in April 1st, and then by June 26th, that's the end of the 19 weeks. So I'll just go through a few frequently asked questions because I know these will come back to myself and Oren. I'll go through them here now. There are questions we would have got each year after we've done the presentation. So, will the club be part of the interview process? No, there will be a representative from the province, myself or Oren, and then from each of the counties on the interview. With the volume of clubs we're talking about, it just wouldn't be possible to include all clubs. You know, we've 93 clubs this year, so it just wouldn't be possible. Will the CDO be allowed to coach in the second level schools? No, this project isn't involved in the CDO program, as it would take up too many hours. Who organised the schedule? So the club must decide what projects from the list of projects we mentioned earlier that they want the CDO to work on. And then the county coaching and game staff will meet with the club and arrange the timetable. The earlier and better prepared a club is with their projects and before the CDO starts, the more value for money they will get from the project. Will it be available before Christmas? No, as the vast majority of third level placements are from January to Christmas. What will the CDOs do on the school holidays? So the project has been cut back to 19 weeks from an original 26 weeks. This was decided due to feedback after the first year, which was very strong. It had worked well since. So it came back from several clubs that there was too much downtime, first of all, on the midterm break, then Easter, and then in July. As we currently run it, the only time there will be holidays is now in Easter, and the CDOs do extra training and run Easter camps in that period. So there's very little downtime of the 19 weeks. Can a CDO coach the coaches in the club? So no, this is the role of the qualified Sport Ireland coach developers. There are several of these in each of the counties. Some of them are staff and some of them are non-staff. The idea behind the project originally was that the CDOs would take on the school's coaching work, and that would free up our full-time staff who are the coach developers to do more of the development work with coaches in the club. Will there be a stipulation in the contract that the CDOs have to complete the full 19 weeks? And yes, that stipulation is in the contract. What action can be taken if a club is not satisfied with their CDO? Once the county and province are formally notified, we will sit down and do a review with the club and the CDO at that point. I have to stress though, this has to be done at the time though. and not after the project, because we can't retrospectively go back and give money back if the wages have been paid and we haven't been told about an issue. What will the role of the CDO be with youth teams? Currently, the project does not cover the CDO being with youth grade teams in a coaching capacity. The only way it can be with youth players is through the athletic development programs and running super games programs. If a club wants to set up an athletic development program, our CDO is qualified to do this. It depends on the course that the CDO comes out of, but most won't. This is why Daniel Ford, our Connacht GAA S&C officer, he will develop the athletic development programs, and the CDO will be qualified to oversee that program in the club in a supervisory capacity. But there's a bit of work in that for clubs to organise. That's why we need that done early. So, you need to get your hall, your gym, your bit of equipment, your players organised and so on, for that project to start in February when the CDO starts. In terms of the service level agreement, are the CDOs available to work on cool camps? So they're not available because the placement ends before the camp starts. But if clubs want the CDO as part of it, we can make an arrangement with them to stay on, but it would be separate to the CDO contract that they'll be on. Why do we have the service level agreement regarding the gear? So I suppose up to last year, the consistent response we were getting from the annual reviews showed that the supply of tracksuit and equipment had been very varied. So one, they weren't getting the clothing to promote the club within the schools, and they also weren't getting the cones or the bibs or the schlitters or the footballs to actually carry out their work. So in 2026, that was implemented as part of the service level agreement, and it worked very well. What are the terms of the SLA? So what that is 2 sets of club tracksuits and the cost of 20 footballs or 60 schlitters, bibs and cones, as set out, or they may be shared between 2 or 3 clubs depending on the arrangement. The SLA is a condition on the expression of interest form. So if you complete that form, you will have had to opt in to do the SLA, and you can't take part in the project without signing the SLA. Who provides the gear and equipment? So Connacht GAA will organise the provision of the equipment. Clubs will be invoiced for their share of this based on the number of hours allocated, and the approximate cost for the equipment for one CDO is €250. It's the club's responsibility to provide the club tracksuit clothing to the CDO. Clothing sizes will be provided for the CDO as soon as possible through Connacht GAA. So that's us finished for this evening. Hopefully we've given you all the information that you need to know. So thanks very much, and we'll talk soon.